Hi there folks, Simmon here with another of the Intermediate Invitational Tournament matches. This time a playoff match, and the first of the playoff matches. This is PlutoTheBrave versus Asceric. PlutoTheBrave having recently won the Blitz Tournament at the beginning of this year, and Asceric coming in second place in the beginner tournament of Q1 of this year. Both of these competitors have been showing quite a bit of strong play through the group stages, so we shall see how things are going to work out here. If you're wondering why the screen looks a bit different than the other commentary videos that I do, it's because there have been a load of new updates on playtak.com. And all these new updates mean different types of games and seeks that you can put up with different parameters like adding Komi, making it a tournament game or an unranked game, that sort of thing. And all those things decided to break the fork that I've been using for the aesthetic appeal, and so I will be using Playtak from now on since the fork is no longer viable to watch games. You can still play the game, I believe, in the fork, but you can't watch the game in the fork. So there goes all my commentary on the fork. But anyway, let's check out the match between PlutoTheBrave and Asceric. And here we are with game one of PlutoTheBrave versus Asceric. This playoff match, the first playoff match of this tournament. And we get that first placement up here in the corner at A6. And then adjacent corners, will we see this mirrored opening that we see so often? And it looks like we are seeing that. White going to continue to build along this vertical line until black does something to interrupt it. Likely with a capstone or a flat right along one of these two pieces. Either on this turn or the next. So white will likely play here at D2. And then we'll see that placement on this side from black. No, white instead playing up here at the top, which is interesting and not what you usually see from this type of mirrored opening. Center control is pretty big in this game. You want to have that center control for later on, when all of the stack movements and whatnot start to occur. And so you can get those walls into the right places and get those roads going from one end to the other and be able to change directions fairly quickly. We do talk about, oh, there is that placement right here from the capstone right there that is more or less in line with that mirrored opening that we see so often and that is talked about in the openings Tak University video. We're seeing white shifting directions now to this horizontal threat. This is where I would have expected instead of D6 here, the D2, so they could have shifted to the horizontal direction over here. But instead we're seeing it up there, and then we see this black placement, and then the white capstone drops. Now this is a pretty solid capstone placement here. The reason for it is that it is in sort of a central location, similar to black's, but it also can't be isolated by any capture because white will always have the opportunity to capture one of these, even if the other moves. And that it also works for a offensive and defensive line. This is all talked about in the capstones video of the Tak University series. Black building around this capstone now. And this is sort of solidifying that position, making it so white's capstone doesn't really have that much to do. Probably going to play here at B6 next because white wants to be building this along, be able to capture up with B4 onto B5 and create that road eventually. And so if black plays at B6 first, that first of all gives him an anchor point up here at A6 and B6 for a vertical or horizontal road, but also cuts off white's opportunity for doing the same thing. We may see white decide to play here at E6 now and trust to be able to come down with C6 down to C5 and up with the capstone to make that Tak threat. So we do see that E6 placed. This is where you'll likely see either this capstone come up or this c6 come down. I think it's likely that the capstone would come up. That is, I believe, the better play here. Definitely wants to make this horizontal threat. Ooh, and we do see black come over with that capstone. And see, this is a solid position here for black because has this ability to cut off all of what white's doing. So this vertical threat's gone. This horizontal threat can be cut off by this capstone. Really nothing that white can do about that. Black, on the other hand, can also cut off some of what black is doing by moving this capstone up, but black would still have some options to go for this horizontal threat down here out of the influence of that capstone. But white can make that tak threat now. White does have the momentum, able to make this capture up here onto b5 to create that first tak threat of the game. White will want to use that momentum and make sure he keeps it, because otherwise Pluto's going to take the momentum on the next turn and be able to run away with that. And you'll see that shift throughout the game. One person will have momentum, the other person will have momentum, and it'll go back and forth. How well you can capitalize and reinforce your position for later on in the game while you have the momentum, that is what we'll see from the solid players. So Pluto, as mentioned, did win the Blitz Tournament that we recently had here a couple months ago. He did very well there. Absolutely destroyed me, that's for sure. And then Asceric came in second place in the Beginners Tournament, earning him a spot here in this Intermediate Invitational. And we do see, instead of that capstone coming up, we instead see d5 come over onto c5. This is still a tak threat, first tak threat of the game, but this one is a lot easier to cut off for black. Black may decide to come over or up. I imagine over with that b5 flat onto this stack to keep it. And then after that point, white will want to begin capturing that, potentially by dropping a wall at some point, capturing down. Okay, so we do see that b5 come over to the right onto c5. Will we see c6 come down? I feel like that's the likely move, but we could also see this capstone come over here onto c4. Those are both fairly likely moves. I feel like this capstone moving over onto c4 is a much stronger move for white. Because, yes, it threatens this stack, but it also cuts off this capstone from everything else that's going on. But instead we do see that c6 come down onto c5. Black takes that up. Will we see a wall drop from white to capture this stack? That is the question here. And where will it drop? Will it drop within range of this capstone to smash, like here on d5 or here on c4? Or will we see it up on c6 or the more likely b5? I feel like b5 makes a lot of sense here. One of these two spots would be inviting that smash. And white probably doesn't want to invite the smash because it would result in the capstone capturing this stack after the fact. White could decide to move this capstone itself, but I don't feel like that would be the best move here. I do think that a wall placed here, probably on b5, is gonna be the move. Yeah. Okay. We are seeing that times are pretty even here. Okay, we do see the wall drop there from white on c6, ready to capture that stack. Black's going to want to do something with that stack right now, or move this capstone into position to be able to smash that wall once the wall captures. And like I was saying before, the times are pretty even. 12:45 here for Pluto and 12:33 for Asceric. Pretty even on time. A lot of new updates on playtak.com today. They've been coming in the past 2 days, I believe. Lots of work from NohatCoder working on this website to update it. Hence why we're on Playtak and not on the fork that I so often use for these commentary streams, because it no longer functions for watching games, only for playing them. And if that makes no sense, sorry. All right, so we did see that capstone stack move over here, ready to capture the big stack. That is a bold move here from Black. And I kind of like it. I feel like that might be the strongest move that Black had, was to move that capstone over. And I like the position here a lot better than up onto d5. I feel like c4 is a little bit stronger in that it kind of cuts off White, ready to go here. Now we're going to see that smash from c4 moving upwards onto c5. And there it is. Taking control of that big stack. And let's take a look at the count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces in this stack, which means the carry limit, he can take off these top 6, but he will have to leave behind at least that bottom black flat when he moves the stack. And here he is making a attack threat. Moving off to the right would be a road for PlutoTheBrave, because he can take these top 6, drop 2, and drop 2 for the road. White, I'm sure, sees that and is planning on doing something about it very soon. I don't know about moving this capstone over here. Didn't seem like a great play to me. I think we're likely to see, yep, a flat right here at b4 to continue this vertical threat for Black. Now that this capstone is essentially walled in here by the capstone and the wall, we can expect to see more play from this vertical line, maybe here on c2, maybe over here onto a3 or a2. c2 would be a attack threat that White would need to respond to. Black, despite being a little walled in here with this capstone stack, I feel like is still in a better position than White at the moment. If we take a look here at the flat count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for White, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Black. Now, 7 for Black. Black is up in terms of flat count, though White does have an immediate positive flat count move by moving this capstone stack down. So we do see it blocking that attack threat off. We're probably going to see b1 or over here at d2 on the next turn for Black. Continuing that attack threat. There it is. There is that. And then White will need to make a capture here in order to stop this attack threat. No longer will he be able to just place to interrupt that. So one capture is incoming. Will we see it come down with b2? Will we see this come across, this come across, this come down, this come up? It's tough to say. There are a lot of things that could happen here. This could come up as well. A lot of things that White can do to interrupt this attack threat. The best one, that's going to be tough. There's so many lines that can come off that it's really difficult to say what the best move is here for White. Yeah, that's a really tough one. Probably moving c1 up. It seems like the best play here. It would likely result in an a2 placement from Black, which would renew that threat and require another capture. So it's tough to say. It is tough to say. Probably doesn't want to make that move of a5 to the right here. Does decide to go for b2 plus, and I think that's a pretty solid one. I think that's a pretty solid one because if black decides to go c3 left capture, it would have resulted in a wall placement. Instead, black's going to place here at b2 to renew that wall threat, or that road threat immediately. So white needs to make another capture here in order to cut that off. White could decide to bring this up onto b4, which I feel like is probably the best move here. Bringing this stack up to b4 cuts off that stack. Ooh, maybe. Yeah, that's probably what black wanted to happen, so we could use this stack to come down. Instead, we're seeing that capture. Now another one, placement at a3, ready to come over and capture. Black is really putting the pressure on white here. This is where you'll see how momentum really affects the game. Black is putting all the pressure, forcing captures out of white, whereas black can keep placing flats, getting them on the board. Placing those flats allows black to control when this game ends if it does come to flats. And forcing these captures out of white creates liabilities for white that black can capitalize on at some point later on in the game when capturing these stacks. For example, placing a wall right here onto b3 would give black an option to capture onto this stack or this stack, so it would basically keep that wall from being isolated and guarantee a stack capture and the liberation of some flats. We instead see black building out here on d2, going for a horizontal line now. Black doesn't quite have the amount of flats he needs to bring this stack partially over to threaten in both of these lines, which is, I'm sure, what he wanted to happen. I can see a placement here at b3 setting that up, and I would really like that. I think that would work very well for black, placing at b3 and then bringing over just the top two pieces from this stack. The capstone and this white flat coming over here onto b5, creating that tag threat would be really solid, and the capstone wouldn't be able to come over. It would force a capture over here and then a recapture. Yeah, b3 would have been very close to a tinue. So b3 was what black wanted to play there, but instead white dropped that wall pretty early, ready to come down and attack this horizontal line that black had building. We do see two walls on the board from white. Let's see, the flat count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for black. Okay, now it's 9 for white, 10 for black, but a lot of liabilities here. And another tack threat here from black. Playing here at f2 would be a road, so white's going to have to respond either with a placement here at f2 or with some sort of capture. Comes down with that wall, does make that capture. Here is where we'll see some interesting stuff, I'm sure. I feel like this stack is going to be coming into play in the next couple moves, likely coming over here onto b5. Probably in the next 2 to 3 moves, you'll see that happening. Black fortifying this position, placing here at d1, ready to come over and capture onto c1 to complete that tak threat, or come down with c2 onto c1 to complete that tak threat, though I believe that coming over with d1 would be a little stronger. I am a little surprised we didn't see an f2 placement out of black to basically solidify that position, and then come over across with this capstone to be able to throw down and capture here. So instead we're seeing white play here at f2 to keep black from playing it, Black decides to play down here at e1. Just going to spam this board with flats. Be sure to keep that flat count up. White's not able to make too many threats right now. Not really able to push for any offensive. Black is just really pushing the momentum here, and White has to respond, and Black's able to just keep driving this game. So White's going to have to figure out some sort of clever move here pretty quick in order to fix that. This capstone is essentially blocked because this capstone stack can come down and create that vertical road. White now building along for this vertical threat while responding to Black's plays here. This is... Black may want to play here at f4 next. No, goes for the capture already, which is interesting because you typically only see that move after you've already got the threat down here, but he doesn't have it yet. So this may come back to bite him a little bit, but if he had kept building along this line, he would have eventually run into having to respond to White's threat. So he's cutting that off preemptively, which is probably the way to go here. Definitely wants to keep that momentum on his side. White comes up, captures, which wouldn't have been possible had Black had that tak threat down here already. Wall coming out for Black, ready to capture that stack. There's also the hint of a horizontal line for White coming across here, maybe capturing down with a5 to a4 to create that. But instead, this wall now is blocking that opportunity and blocking the opportunity for the vertical threat because that wall can come over and capture the stack. White throws that stack upwards, getting out of the way of that wall so it can't capture. Makes this wall a little pointless, but the wall can come over and capture onto maybe d3 later on, or wait for this vertical threat to develop more and then come over and capture. Black now building here at f2, which is what he wanted to do in the first place. White coming over with that wall, cutting that off, neutering that threat. This is where we may see Black decide to fill in here at b2 or over here at b3. And to start to make some more threats, maybe with this big stack here up at c5 that I was apparently wrong about. It did not come into play in the next few turns. Interesting to make this capture now, because now this capstone can come over and capture onto b4, whereas before it couldn't, because this wall, let's take a look a couple moves back. So this wall here, if he had made this capture on the previous turn, this wall could have come up and captured, but this capstone couldn't have. But now that this wall is here, this capstone is free to come across. Decides to drop a wall instead. Very cautious play here from Asceric. Dropping lots of walls here, trying to fend off all these road threats that Black is making, but in doing that, he is falling behind on the flat count. It is tough to remember all the different ways that you got to keep track of the flat count and your opponent's road threats and your own road threats and your position on the board this whole time. It's tough to manage all those at once. There are only a few players who can keep track of all that and really keep it going in their heads, and they are at the top for a reason. I am definitely not one of those two players, by the way. Or three, or however many it is. That is not me. But it is a little easier for me to keep track of these things when I'm not the one playing, because less pressure. So White has to respond here, not because there's any sort of threat going on, but has to figure out what the play is for continuing this game to keep it interesting, basically. Make sure that they're still in it, because White is falling pretty far behind. Let's take a look at that flat count once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 for black, 11 for white. Black does have a positive flat count differential move here. Making another threat now. Placing at B3 would be a road. So white cannot use this flat to come up. Also can't make this capstone move over because this capstone would come down and smash that wall for a horizontal road. And now we see that D1 flat come over to the left, cutting off this area here and making another tack threat horizontally. White drops another wall down. Not having any of that. It would be interesting to see maybe 2A4 to the right. That would be a tack threat for black, but white wouldn't be able to use that capstone to come over. Would probably be forced to use A5, right? And then a fill in at A5 would stop that. Yeah, it's a tough spot that white is in right now. Black is really putting on a lot of pressure. Black instead placing over here at E4 doesn't really do anything in terms of a threat, but it does keep white from building a threat in this direction. And it puts more flats on the board. And black is seeing that this game may be coming to a close fairly soon. We see only a few reserves left for black, really pushing this game, really driving it. We see 6.5 minutes on the clock for Asceric and 9.5 minutes on the clock for Pluto. Pluto definitely has a strong time advantage here. White is going to want to be able to make some positive flat count differential moves here in the next few turns. Whoa, black coming over with the capstone stack, ready to bring this down. I don't know about that move. This is a pretty easily defendable move. And he gives up this capstone pin. Now the capstone is free to come over here to the left because the capstone from black isn't going to come smash this wall. I think potentially this wall coming over, I was thinking that wall or this capstone moving would be the most likely outcome here. And we may see black take just the top two flats, top two pieces from the stack, the capstone and this white flat, drop the white flat here, and make the smash, which would be another tack threat for black going in the vertical direction. No, it comes down with the whole stack, which I don't know about that. Can't see that being a great move. Probably wants to capture this stack here. I can see this stack now being thrown up to capture, to drop a white flat here onto A5 and then the white flat here onto A6. So 2A4 plus 2-2, or 4A4 plus 2-2, sorry. Because there's no tack threat currently from black right now. I don't know about that move. The last couple moves from black have been a little interesting to me, and I don't quite follow why they were made. But we shall see what his plan is here. Let's take a look at that flat count once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for black. So black is still up in terms of flat count. Can make a plus, let's see, +1, -1. So +3 move. White does have a +3 move available. Black playing up here at C6. Dropping those flats down. Black down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reserves. White continuing to play flats. Interesting. Black continuing to play flats. There's a potential for a horizontal road here. A3 coming here to F4, tossing this stack, dropping 1 white, dropping the capstone here, connecting, bringing this wall down. That would be a way to do that. Trying to line up those moves, however, in the right order is tough, especially with this capstone here. He is going to want to make that wall movement, which is a +3 move, which would put white in the lead in terms of flats. And black doesn't have too many of those moves at this moment. Okay, we do see the tack threat here from white. White probably just trying to sneak that in. But that is probably not ideal. Black is going to bring part of this stack down. No, doesn't bring... I think bringing part of that stack down would have been the play. Would have been a tack threat going across for a vertical or a horizontal line. White would have been forced probably to bring this capstone over. Instead, we see this wall come across. But now that that move has been made, no longer a +3 move if capable. It was just a +2. And this is me talking about flat count differential moves here. Let's take a look at this flat count once again, see if we can count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 for black. So black can place flats here. There are some positive flat count differential moves for white by bringing up here onto this line. So white can still come ahead here in terms of flats, but black does have this stack to play with and to do some work with. And black at the moment controls when this game ends. This is a tack threat here from white. Making that capture. Black does interrupt that threat with this capstone movement. Black could be thinking of moving this across, capturing the stack, and threatening this wall with the smash for the road. It's tough to say. White now has to think of ways to turn this game in their favor to potentially win on flats. Playing here at E5. Increases the flat count. I believe the flat advantage is still with black, however. He can decide to make that positive flat count differential move by moving this capstone over, but instead he's going to just try to flat out here. Not going to try to do anything too fancy. This is open for a board fill. If white plays here, the game does end and it goes to flats. That would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that would be a win. Instead, we see white make that positive flat count differential move. And that is a +3 move here. So I believe white now has the lead in terms of flat count differential. Let's take a look again, because I'm terrible at counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So black's got to do some work here in order to catch up. And so potentially leaving behind 1 or 2 blacks here and capturing over onto c4 would do that, because that would be a positive flat count differential move and threaten the tak here, and be able to use the liberated captive to capture back up here. Over in the chat, we do see them asking, is this game 1? Yes, this is game 1. Let's look at the clock here. 3.5 minutes for Asceric, 6 minutes for PlutoTheBrave. Pluto is now down in terms of flats, so he's got to make some positive flat count differential moves here if he wants to win this. Or come ahead with a sneaky road. This capstone smash might not be seen. And the response to this move would have to basically be this wall stack moving over here onto d2. Which would give him opportunities to make some more positive flat count differential moves and potentially win this. Fills in, so he's got, okay, that's a sneaky threat. Smashing this wall here would be a vertical threat going from E1 all the way up here to B6. That is a sneaky, sneaky threat. I really like it. And it brings him down to 1 flat left, which is a dicey position, to be honest. Because you can get into situations where you need a wall dropped in order to defend against some sort of road, and you don't have that opportunity because you're maybe 1 flat behind. Oh, but white just filled in for the win. Oh. Pluto did not see that happening. He thought, oh great, I can make this threat here. Oh no, and he didn't account for the board fill option. And he is kicking himself right now in the chat in Discord. He is not pleased. Not pleased at all. Does make that blunder here, allows for white to just place that flat, end the game. Oh, that is brutal. That is brutal. Yeah, I think coming over with this stack onto c3 would have been the move to make. That would have allowed him to get some more flats. I didn't even see that white could do that at that moment after that move. I was just so impressed by that sneaky road threat. White being able to end that game. Whew, that is rough. But good game. Well played to both players. And here we are with game 2 of PlutoTheBrave versus Asceric. Okay, and we see the first placement down here at A1. And then F1. We do see that adjacent corners opening. Will we see the standard mirrored opening here? It looks like we are seeing that. Pluto sticking to the basics of what he knows, except no! Changing it up, playing here at E2. Very interesting, different way to play this opening here. Now Asceric doesn't quite know what to do here. You see him taking his time, not able to just sort of mindlessly play these next few moves as he's so used to doing. Gonna have to take his time here to think about what the best response is to this. He could decide to just keep playing up north and make the first threat, keep that momentum, because black would have been able to take that momentum right away just by placing here at c4 and forced white to respond to him. And that's a good position you want to be in as black, since white does start with that momentum. So we do see instead placing up here at d4, kind of cutting off this vertical threat and horizontal threat now from white. White going to have to do something. You might even see a capstone here from white after this unorthodox opening. And we do see the reason why people don't often play down here after playing up here is because it does give black the opportunity to take that momentum that white starts with. And you definitely want to keep that momentum as white, but instead we are seeing that capstone drop here from white, very central location. Able to capture both of these pieces, can't be isolated, really strong position, it follows all the guidelines in that capstones opening video. In that capstones placement video, as part of the Tak University series. Black making a capture, basically guaranteeing that white is going to capture over here on a d4 or place down here or here. I think placing at d2 might even be best for white at this point, but instead makes that capture, guarantees that white's going to end up with this stack. Is very different opening play from both these players. I bet their brains, both of them, are absolutely wiped after that first game. We saw some pretty heavy flat count calculations going on, and they were just wiped after how long that game took. I mean, it didn't take that long, probably 40 minutes or so, but I mean, that's good enough. Good enough. All right, and black still hasn't quite figured out what to do in order to respond to this. Decides to drop that capstone down, ready to maybe block in white with a wall at d4 now? It looks like that's what they're doing. But I don't think that's going to work out well for him. I think we're going to see white play right along that vertical line like I was thinking. I was thinking more at f4 instead of e4, but f4 totally works as well, or e4 totally works as well. Now another wall coming out. Black really does not want white to make that vertical road. Wow. That is something. That is something. I think playing at e1 for white here makes a lot of sense. It does make that anchor point down to e1 and f1. Able to come up and make that connection, maybe eventually make that smash onto e3. But if that wall ends up moving upwards onto e4, then white could decide to build along horizontally down at the bottom. Or maybe toss that stack, spreading it out, dropping on e3 and f3 to build up from there on f4. Yeah, a lot of options here. But I do think e1 is probably the move here that Pluto wants to take. Or f2. Instead playing down at c2. This sort of cuts off black's capstone from his own threats, but black very quick to play there at b2, ready for that response, really wanted to make that connection. We do kind of see a little bit of a mirror here in that black is trying to make that diagonal connection up to that capstone from that original anchor point. So it's interesting there. All right, we do see black trying to build along that. White does have the momentum here. So black's got to be careful about this. White now building to block black, but black able to just build around. Black's looking a little bit better. If white does not play here at c5 to block, and instead plays at e6 or e1 or f2, white will be continuing with that momentum. It will be interesting to see. This game is definitely very different from that first game, which tended to follow the opening rules quite a bit. Not that they're rules, just more like the meta right now. This is very off meta in terms of how this game is turning out. Asceric definitely was talking in between the games how he said, I don't know how I won that. And Pluto says that he is now filled with the flames of righteous anger, and he shall have his revenge. So that's our poetic Pluto the Brave talking about how he really wants to win this one now after losing to not really paying attention to the option of a board fill working against him. And after looking at the previous game, I did take a look at that briefly. And it looks like if he had instead moved the top two pieces of that capstone stack to the right, it would have been a Tinue. So that would have been rough. If it wasn't Tinue, it was very close. So we are seeing a little bit of play done over here. Black building for this vertical road, but then white kind of interrupting it with these two flats, making a couple captures. Got this wall here ready to come across and interrupt all of that. Black building up here at a6. I'm not quite sure I agree with that completely, but white's going to keep going along and building more flats in this area to reinforce this position, probably to keep it from being taken by black in the near future. I think it's interesting that white is not going for anything vertical over here. I mean, he knows that this wall is going to move up to e4, but it's still interesting he's not pushing any sort of momentum here. Although black does have momentum at the moment. White now going for sort of a horizontal road threat. This is a fun tournament. We are seeing a lot of improvement out of Asceric, and we've seen a lot of improvement out of Pluto recently as well. I mean, they're both fairly new to the game. Asceric's been around for actually probably 3 years, but he hasn't played very many matches. I mean, on playtak.com, he's only got maybe 80 or 90 games played in several years. Pluto, on the other hand, has been around for about a year now, and he has played quite a few more than that, and recently become a lot stronger as a player, and been able to really come ahead in a lot of these matches, like being able to tie for first place in that Blitz tournament. And we see in this tournament alone, Asceric has really improved just through these tournament matches. We've been able to see that. And I believe there is currently, okay, so another tack threat here from black. Placing an a4 would be a road. White dropping a wall, ready to cut that off very quickly. Probably wants a5 to move to the right so he can take this wall stack and capture that big juicy stack and use that for a positive flat gun differential move by spreading it down below. But I doubt that black will be so kind as to do that. Because as I said, he has been improving quite a bit through this tournament and did very well in the group stages, and obviously proving now that he's doing well in the playoffs as well, earning his spot here. After taking second place in that beginner tournament. Speaking of that beginner tournament, there is a tournament going on right now that is the Ryder Cup, or a transatlantic tournament. I like to call it the Ryder Cup because, yeah, it's like golf. US versus Europe. And Pluto, being European, is in that one. Ooh, black does take that stack and move it over, ready for this wall to come in. Take that juicy stack. White's probably thinking, okay, this has to be a trap. And then Pluto in the Discord decided to make a comment. I pity anyone missing out on the game of the century taking place right now. I think he's talking about how bizarre the game is and how weirdly he's being sort of beaten here. But yeah, he shouldn't discount himself. He's playing very well. But like I said, Ryder Cup going on right now. Trav West is playing in that, and so is the winner of the beginner tournament that just happened in Q1, Inaria. Inaria is in Europe, and Asceric is in the US, and yes, they did draw each other to play, so they are having a rematch in that Ryder Cup. No, I will not be covering it. I'm not covering any of the Ryder Cup games except for maybe my own, because, I mean, there's just way too many games to cover in too short a period of time, and we've already got this Intermediate Invitational going on at the same time with the playoffs, and then the tiebreaker matches and all that jazz. Yeah, way too much going on at once, so I will not be covering those, but it is exciting. They have sort of a rematch, grudge match thing. It's very fun. And yes, in my tournament match, I will be playing Ali, who is also from Europe, as I am in the US, as you can tell from my accent, or lack of accent, depending on where you are. Oh, okay, so now that that wall is captured, black is thinking, what the heck do I do now? He didn't fall for my trap that was actually a trap. It was actually just sort of a blunder. Now white's going to be thinking what to do with this big stack now. I think that maybe building across here at e6 would be nice. Okay, does go for e6. And the reason e6 is nice is because it starts building along for this horizontal threat, with this stack being able to come over and up. And it builds towards this vertical one. And if white keeps black's attention over here, and then makes a move dropping something here, it's easy to forget about this smash move. Or if white redirects black's attention to this vertical threat, cuts that off later. Ooh. Black making a move here. Capturing up. Interesting. Interesting. He wants to set up a move where he takes this whole stack, moves it over here onto b4, and basically comes up with some sort of Tinue type situation, which would be very nice, but instead white's saying, I'm not having any of that, and throws it all the way across. Now here's what I like about this move, is it does a few things, and one of them is great. So he's got the option to smash this wall. He's got the option to play here at e1, and playing here at e1 is pretty great because playing here at d2 is a horizontal road threat, right? But not only playing here at e1 is a horizontal road threat there, but it's also a vertical threat here by taking this capstone stack and throwing it across and smashing this wall. That was a fantastic move, and if black allows white to make that move here at e1, because this is not a road threat, is e1 Tinue? No, it is not. It is not Tinue because this wall can move down to e2. But e1 is a great move here, and he should really do it. He should really do it. I love e1 as a placement. I like it. I like it a lot. I feel like black did this move because he expected white to smash this wall stack instead. I don't know. I really feel like e1 is so strong here. It can be foiled by this wall coming down, but it's still such a great move. Go on, Pluto, play it. It would be sneaky. It would be very sneaky because it would be this horizontal threat and vertical threat at the same time. Okay, he does play it. The only move here is this wall coming down. E3 minus is the only move. And he misses it, and white takes the win. Oh, black missed it. He only saw that vertical threat, did not see the horizontal one at the same time. You better believe that he missed that because he was so fatigued from the previous game of how long that went on and thinking so hard on that. But that was really well played. Pluto the Brave in the chat saying, revenge is sweet. Clearly some gamesmanship going on in the Discord server, which you should check out if you're not in it. Definitely go there to enjoy this great commentary from the players and find other people to play with. But that is all for today's match. Excellently played from both players, 1 win apiece. Well done, Pluto the Brave. Well done, Asceric. And because they each won a single game from this 2-game match, they will be having a tiebreaker match at a later date. And you will be able to catch that in my next video of this playoff series of the Intermediate Invitational Tak Tournament. But that is all for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the description at the bottom of this video to see all the Tak resources that we have available to us, including the playtak.com website where you can play folks online. Also, the rules for the game so you can learn it. Check out the videos on my channel for how to play Tak. Check out the subreddit. Especially check out the Tak Discord server, which is the community hub. It's where everybody goes to talk about Tak, find players to play with, where we organize all these tournaments and everything. It's all on that Tak Discord. That is the place to be. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, Discord is a audio and text chatting web application and mobile application, and it's super easy to use, doesn't cost a thing, and you don't even have to download anything if you don't want to. Thanks for checking it out, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.